Alexander III of Macedon, commonly known as Alexander the Great, was a king of the ancient Greek kingdom of Macedon and a member of the Argead dynasty. He was born in Pella in 356 BC. During his youth, Alexander was tutored by Aristotle until age 16. After Philip's assassination, he succeeded his father to the throne and inherited a strong kingdom and an experienced army at the age of 20. Alexander was awarded the generalship of Greece. In 334 BC, he invaded the Achaemenid Empire, known as Persian Empire, and began a series of campaigns that lasted 10 years. Following the conquest of Anatolia, Alexander broke the power of Persia in a series of decisive battles, most notably the battles of Issus and Gaugamela. In his first battle in Asia at Granicus, Alexander used only a small part of his forces, perhaps 13,000 infantry with 5,000 cavalry, against a much larger Persian force of 40,000. Alexander placed the phalanx, armed with a spear 6 meters or 20 feet long, at center, and cavalry and archers on the wings, so that his line matched the length of the Persian cavalry line, about 3 kilometers or 1.86 miles. By contrast, the Persian infantry was stationed behind its cavalry. This ensured that Alexander wouldn't be outflanked, while his phalanx had an advantage over the Persian scimitars and javelins because of their long pikes. Macedonian losses were negligible compared to those of the Persians. At Issus in 333 BC, his first confrontation with Persian King Darius III, he used the same deployment, and again the center phalanx pushed through. Alexander personally led the charge in the center, routing the opposing army. At the decisive encounter with Darius at Gaugamela, Darius equipped his chariots with sights on the wheels to break up the phalanx and equipped his cavalry with pikes. Alexander arranged a double phalanx, with the center advancing at an angle, parting when the chariots bore down and then reforming. The advance was successful and broke Darius' center, causing the latter to flee once again. Alexander subsequently overthrew Persian King Darius III and conquered the whole empire. At that point, his empire stretched from the Adriatic Sea to the Beas River. Alexander endeavored to reach the ends of the world and the Great Outer Sea, and invaded India in 326 BC, winning an important victory over the Pauravas at the Battle of Hydaspes. That means that by the age of 30, he had created one of the largest empires of the ancient world, stretching from Greece to northwestern India. When faced with opponents who used unfamiliar fighting techniques, such as in Central Asia and India, Alexander adapted his forces to his opponent's style. Thus, in Bactria and Sogdiana, Alexander successfully used his javelin throwers and archers to prevent outflanking movements, while massing his cavalry at the center. In India, confronted by Porus' elephant corps, the Macedonians opened their ranks to envelop the elephants and used their spears to strike upwards and dislodge the elephant handlers. After his military campaigns in India, he eventually turned back at the demand of his homesick troops and came back to Babylon. He planned to establish the city as his capital and wanted to create a series of new campaigns, beginning with an invasion of Arabia. Unfortunately, he wouldn't have a chance to realize them, as he died shortly after the sickness in 323 BC in the age of 32. In the years following his death, a series of civil wars tore his empire apart, resulting in the establishment of several states ruled by Alexander's surviving generals and heirs. Years later, the empire was divided into Ptolemaic Egypt, Seleucid Mesopotamia and Central Asia, Attalid Anatolia, and Antigonid Macedon. Alexander's legacy includes some 20 cities that bore his name, most notably Alexandria in Egypt. Alexander's settlement of Greek colonists and the resulting spread of Greek culture in the East resulted in a new Hellenistic civilization, aspects of which were still evident in the traditions of the Byzantine Empire in the mid-15th century AD. Alexander became legendary as a classical hero in the mode of Achilles. He was undefeated in battle and is widely considered one of history's most successful military commanders. Military academies throughout the world still teach his tactics. He was one of the biggest.